Hi everyone, to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going to be making classic Karidopita. It's a Greek spiced walnut cake that once it's baked, it's soaked in a delicious aromatic honey syrup. It's so good. It's perfect for this time of the year because it has all those warm spices of cinnamon and cloves. It's sweet, it's moist, and it's so delicious and super easy to make. Let's get started. So anytime we make a syrup-based dessert, we start by making the syrup because we need for it to cool down as the cake bakes. The syrup should be cool and then it gets poured over the hot cake so that way everything just gets distributed evenly, and the syrup is so easy to make. So for the syrup, I already have 2 cups of granulated sugar in my saucepan. I'm going to turn the heat on high and add 3 cups of water, a cinnamon stick, and a 1/4 teaspoon of whole cloves. That's about 10 of them. And I'm just going to cook this until it comes to a boil and the sugar is dissolved. Once that happens, I'm going to take it off the heat and add in 1 cup of Greek honey and a little splash, like a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, pure vanilla extract, and set it aside to cool completely. Okay, now we're going to make the batter, the cake batter. So for that, we're going to start with the dry ingredients. And in my bowl here, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and I like to add heaping teaspoons, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whisk that all together. And the dry ingredients are mostly ready. Now we're going to start with the wet ingredients. So we're going to need 6 eggs and 1 cup of granulated sugar, and we're just going to beat that until the eggs are nice and thick and fluffy. It's much easier to do this with a handheld mixer or in a big KitchenAid mixer like a stand mixer, but it can definitely be done by hand as well. Just keep mixing for about 2 to 3 minutes. Next, I'm going to add 1 cup of light olive oil, but you could use whatever vegetable oil that's light that you love and use or have on hand. 1 cup of milk. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And now the dry ingredient in a few batches. Mix it until it's just combined. You don't want to mix too much, otherwise the cake is not going to be light. It's going to be too tough. Then over here I have 1.5 cups of ground walnuts. I just like to coarsely grind them. I like for there to be nice chunks of walnuts in the cake, but if you want them finely ground, you can do that. I'm going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour to them so that way they don't sink to the bottom of the cake. And now I'm just going to add them to the batter and fold them in using a spatula this time, not a whisk. Sometimes they get stuck inside the whisk. And over here I'm going to be using a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. You could grease it with butter or olive oil. I just have some avocado spray here, it just sprays on easily. And I'm just going to transfer all of the batter to the pan, and it's ready for the oven. So my oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The cake is going to bake on the center rack for 45 minutes. Once it comes out of the oven, you can go ahead and test it with a toothpick, insert it into the center. If it comes out clean, and then it's ready for the syrup. Now the thing about this cake is you don't have to worry about over baking it. Not that you want to over bake it on purpose, but you don't have to look to take it out at that perfect mark where it's just perfectly cooked. If it gets a little bit over baked, it's fine because it's going to get drenched with that cooled syrup. So once it comes out of the oven, right away, poke it all around with a toothpick so that way there's space for the syrup to really go in, and then pour that cooled syrup on top. Then you want to let the cake sit at room temperature for at least an hour. So it cools at room temperature, all of that syrup settles, and then it's going to be ready to be served. Just cut it into serving portions, whatever size you like. And then I also like to dust it with some confectioner sugar and also put some ground walnuts on top, maybe a little dusting of cinnamon. Then all you have to do is make some coffee and call some friends over. The house smells so good with this cake, you guys. You just can't even imagine. And it stays fresh at room temperature for a few days. But because there's eggs in here, I do like to refrigerate it. So I keep it refrigerated, any leftovers that is, in an airtight container. And we enjoy it with coffee in the morning and in the afternoon. And it's just so, so good. It tastes even better the next day if you ask me. Time for the taste test. So comforting, so delicious, so warm from those delicious spices. I love anything with cinnamon. You get a little crunch from the walnuts. The cake is so moist and delicious. It's surprisingly not overly sweet. There's about a cup of sugar in the whole batter, but then the rest of the sugar that's in here gets distributed evenly. So I would not reduce the sugar if I'm making it, and I am making it. So I wouldn't reduce the sugar, but I hope you guys give this recipe a try. Serve this with some Greek coffee. If you want to learn how to make Greek coffee, click over here and I will see you right over there. The exact measurements are on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. You can head on over there to print that recipe and to order some beautiful aprons. See how I matched my green shirt to my green apron? Anyway, thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Yes, sis.